Imagine yourself as the sun, shining brightly and offering warmth and light every day. The people around you benefit from your constant presence. They grow used to your light, to the comfort and security you provide. But now, picture what happens when that sun suddenly disappears. The world becomes colder, darker. The comforting warmth they took for granted is now just a memory. Do they simply adapt to the cold? Or do they start to realize what they have lost? It's a question worth pondering, especially in the context of your relationships. Whether it's a friend, partner, or colleague, you might find yourself always giving, always reaching out. But what happens when you stop? What happens when you choose to step back? Not out of anger or resentment, but out of the understanding that sometimes absence is more powerful than presence. You see, people are creatures of habit. They often don't recognize the true value of something or someone until it's no longer there. That's because familiarity breeds comfort, and comfort leads to taking things for granted. But when you step away, you create a space, a void, that allows others to see the full picture, to appreciate what they had when it's gone. It's a bit like standing too close to a painting. When you're up close, all you see are the details, the brushstrokes. But when you take a few steps back, suddenly the full image comes into focus. You see the beauty and intricacy of the painting in a way you couldn't before. That's the power of stepping back. It gives others the chance to see your full value, to appreciate your worth in ways they couldn't when you were always within reach. Now, think about someone in your life, a friend, a partner, or perhaps even someone you work with. You've likely been the one who keeps the connection alive, reaching out, making plans, initiating conversations. But what if, for a moment, you chose to stop? What if, instead of always being the one to reach out, you decided to step back and give them space to feel your absence? It's not about disappearing entirely or cutting someone off. It's about creating a moment of silence, a pause in the rhythm of your interactions. Think of it as allowing a breath in the conversation, a space for reflection. And in that space, something interesting happens. The dynamics change. Suddenly, your absence becomes louder than your presence ever was. At first, they might not notice. Life is busy, after all, and people are caught up in their routines. But soon enough, they'll begin to feel it, the quiet that has replaced your usual messages, calls, and invitations. It's like walking into a room that used to be filled with music and finding only silence. At first, it's unremarkable, but then, the absence becomes noticeable. The silence grows louder, and they start to wonder, where did you go? Why haven't you reached out? This silence can be powerful. It forces others to reflect, to think about the role you played in their life. Were they relying on you more than they realized? Did they take your presence for granted? These are the kinds of questions that start to bubble up when you create that space for reflection. And here's the thing, in that silence, they begin to appreciate you in ways they couldn't before. Absence, as the old saying goes, makes the heart grow fonder. When you stop being the one who always reaches out, they begin to notice just how much you contributed to the relationship, how much of their happiness, comfort, or sense of connection was tied to you. It's like missing the warmth of the sun after a long, cold night. They realize just how much they depended on the light you brought into their life. But here's where many people hesitate. There's often a fear that if you step back, if you stop reaching out, they'll simply forget about you. You might think, won't they just move on? Won't they fill that space with someone else? It's a valid concern. But it's important to remember that the goal isn't to disappear forever. The goal is to create a moment for them to realize your value. The first thing that happens when you stop chasing someone is the shock of silence. They may not notice it immediately, after all. Life has its way of keeping people busy, but soon enough, the absence of your usual presence becomes a quiet echo in their daily routine. It's the absence of the good morning texts, the inside jokes, or the plans to hang out. That silence catches their attention. Think of it like this. When you're used to hearing the same song on repeat, it becomes background noise. But when the song stops, you suddenly realize how much space it filled. The silence becomes almost deafening. That's what happens when you step back. They begin to notice the space you left behind. This is a crucial moment. It's when they start to question why you've gone silent. Was it something they did? Are you upset with them? Their mind starts to race, replaying interactions, looking for clues. And in this moment of reflection, something important happens. They begin to realize just how much you meant to them. This is a crucial moment. It's when they start to question why you've gone silent. Was it something they did? Are you upset with them? Their mind starts to race, replaying interactions, looking for clues, and in this moment of reflection, something important happens. They begin to realize just how much you meant to them. Next comes the realization of your value. As the days pass and your absence lingers, they begin to feel the weight of it. It's no longer just about the lack of messages or calls. It's about the lack of you, your presence, your energy, your unique contribution to their life. They start to think about all the little things they took for granted. The way you always knew what to say, the way you listened, the way you made them feel special. It's in this absence that your true value begins to shine. You see, people often don't realize what they have until it's gone. When you're always there, always available, it's easy for them to overlook your importance. But when you step back, they're forced to confront the void you leave behind, and in that void, they start to see just how much you brought to the table. They begin to miss your presence. It's like missing a key ingredient in a recipe. The dish just isn't the same without it. They might try to fill the void with other people or distractions, but it won't be the same. No one else can bring what you brought, and that realization is powerful. As more time passes, they start to feel the void of your presence. This isn't just about missing a few conversations or shared moments. It's about the emotional space you filled in their life. When you were around, things felt a little brighter, a little warmer. Now, without you, there's a noticeable gap, like a missing puzzle piece that leaves the picture incomplete. Think about it. When you stop being there for someone, the moments that once felt full and rich now feel a bit empty. The morning text they used to expect from you is no longer there. The jokes you shared don't feel as funny without you to laugh along. The moments they once took for granted now feel hollow. It's like walking into a room that used to be filled with laughter and finding only silence. This void is something they can't ignore. It follows them throughout their day, reminding them of the connection they once had with you. And the more they try to push it aside, the more it lingers. It's not something they can easily forget or replace, because it's not just about the absence of words or interactions. It's about the absence of you. This is when they start to feel the sting of regret. They begin to wonder if they took you for granted, if they didn't appreciate you enough when you were there. They replay moments in their mind, thinking about all the times they could have been more present, more appreciative, more caring. And with that regret comes a deeper understanding of just how much you meant to them. Now that you've created a void in their life, something interesting happens. They become curious. They start to wonder what you're up to, what's going on in your life. Without your usual updates or check-ins, they're left in the dark, and that mystery becomes intriguing. People are naturally curious creatures. When someone who was once a constant presence in their life suddenly steps back, it creates a sense of intrigue. They start checking your social media, looking for clues, trying to piece together what's happening in your world. They scroll through old messages, replaying conversations, searching for any hint of why you've gone quiet. This curiosity often leads to longing. As they reflect on the moments you shared, they begin to miss you. Not just the conversations or the interactions, but the way you made them feel. Every little thing starts to remind them of you. A song, a place you used to visit together, a random phrase you once said. These small reminders add up, and soon they find themselves yearning for the connection they once had with you. It's important to note that this longing isn't just about missing someone. It's about missing you specifically. The unique way you connected with them, the way you made them feel seen and understood. That's not something they can easily replace. And as that longing grows, so does their appreciation for what they once had with you. With longing often comes regret. They begin to realize that they might have taken you for granted, that they didn't appreciate you as much as they should have. They think about all the times they could have treated you better, shown more gratitude, or been more present in the relationship. This regret stings because it's tied to the realization that they might have lost something truly valuable. They start to see the ways they could have been a better friend, partner, or colleague. They think about the moments when they were too busy or distracted to fully appreciate what you brought into their life. But this regret isn't just about what they've lost. It's also about what they failed to give. They realize that they didn't show you the love, care, or attention you deserved, and that realization weighs heavy on their heart. They begin to wish they had done things differently, that they had shown you just how much you meant to them while you were still around. As they reflect on their regret, something shifts within them. They begin to develop a newfound appreciation for you. They start to see you in a different light, not just as someone who was always there, but as someone who brought incredible value to their life. They recognize the ways you made their life better, the support you offered, the joy you brought, the kindness you showed, and they realize that not everyone can offer that kind of connection. You were unique in the way you cared for them, and now that you're gone, they see your true worth. This newfound appreciation often leads to a desire to reconnect. They want to make things right, to show you that they now understand your value. They might reach out to you, hoping to rebuild the connection they once had. But here's the important part. You now hold the power. You've shown them your worth through your absence, and now it's up to you to decide whether or not to let them back into your life. One of the most powerful things that happens when you stop chasing someone is that your absence becomes magnetic. You're no longer the person they once knew. You've grown. You've used this time to focus on yourself, to become more self-sufficient, more independent, more confident in who you are. And that growth is incredibly attractive. People are drawn to those who are comfortable in their own skin, who don't need others to validate their worth. Your ability to thrive without them makes you magnetic, and they can't help but feel drawn to you again. But this time, it's different. You're not chasing them. You're not trying to prove your worth or seek their validation. You know your value, and that self-assuredness is what makes you so irresistible. They may come back, but now they do so with a deeper appreciation for who you are and what you bring to the table. And whether you choose to let them back in or not, you've reclaimed your power. You've shown them and yourself that you are worthy of love, respect, and appreciation. In the end, your absence speaks louder than any words ever could. By stepping back, by creating that space for reflection, you've allowed them to see your true value. You've shown them what life is like without you, and in doing so, you've given them the opportunity to appreciate what they had all along. But more importantly, you've reclaimed your power. You've stopped chasing, stopped seeking validation, and started focusing on yourself. And in that process, you become stronger, more confident, and more magnetic than ever before. So, the next time you find yourself always being the one to reach out, always being the one to give, remember the power of stepping back. Sometimes, absence is the loudest statement you can make.